Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of whatever this is. This is truly, in essence, the part of this whole series, whatever this is, because today I have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. But Hatim, the leader, the savior, the almighty, is here to lead the way. He's here to pave the way. So, Hatim,
Yeah,
what is it that we're talking about today? Please enlighten the
don't worry, don't
viewers.
worry, Hussein. This is definitely a conversation that you'll have your opinion about. Um, Racism in nutrition, and I know, and so some of the articles that I've looked into specifically talk about racism in nutrition regarding African Americans and what they eat versus white people food, and generally, it's understood that most dietitians are actually white too, so they have a particular bias of how what's nutritious and what's not. So I just wanted to
Right.
discuss how you feel about how I feel about racism in our own food being desi Indian and Pakistani food.
That itself is a very loaded question because right now we're just talking about the differences in the cuisines, right? And I don't know where to start with this question, honestly. Like, what's your answer to this? I just want to know, just so I can gauge
Yeah,
what to
look,
say. Because
I would say definitely for sure there is a racism towards it. So in our experience, like for anyone, like when we would go to our for for everyone to know, like our mosque, and we would eat. Generally, we would always have this consensus that the food we're eating is quote unquote not healthy, and generally, it's not understood why. They'll either complain about too much oil, while obviously you're making a ton of food for a large group of people, or they'll say XYZ reason why this is not it's not healthy. And the thought is that a lot of people have this. I mean, this is again another. I know it's loaded because there's a lot of aspects to it with nutrition that a lot of people just think, well, the only thing nutritious is vegetables, but that's not true either. But my general consensus, and I thought about this long and hard, and I do feel that when it comes to Indian food, that people automatically assume that it's not healthy. At least even, and I'm talking about even within our community, within Indians and Pakistanis, that they have a feeling that their food is not healthy because we live in America and certain white people foods are considered healthy, which would be like avocado toast, and they cited in the article like avocado toast or general white people foods they assume is healthy versus actual desi food.
you need to be. That is the. I mean, that is true that most of the influential people in the food industry and the dietitian industry are white, so they will lead the conversation in what's actually healthy or not. But uh, I've been seeing a lot of good discourse on TikTok, and I say discourse to make it sound like a fancy way of me saying that I've seen a lot of good stuff on TikTok, uh, where there are like people showing healthy Indian recipes with good like the macros fit uh, a meal that's worthy of a diet. Like there's low fat butter chicken with high enough protein, and that looks really good. I haven't tried the recipes yet, but just from the looks, it looks like something that I would eat, and you wouldn't even be able to know that it's butter chicken. Like the other issue with the racism in the Indian food, at least in my opinion, is that Indians, and this is not anything towards the white people, it's more so within the Indian culture. When you say something's low fat, that equally turns into low quality. And I've seen this happen with many Indians, not just a few of the ones I know. You know what I mean? Like, has this happened to you where if you get something that's low fat, people are just like, ah, that's cheap, that's some BS, I don't want that. Give me the
Well,
real
yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I haven't really heard that much, but I will tell you right now that there is a whole complicated thing with being low fat, which is another issue in itself. That low fat is not fats are not bad for you. Obviously, because we're more sedentary, there's only so many calories that we can intake per day. This is I don't think this is disputed that we use less calories because we're more sedentary than anyone else. But the thing is, even with low fat, like you don't need to eat low fat to go. A lot of things that we buy low fat to in stores end up having more sugar because fat is the flavor that your body wants. So if you have low fat, a lot of times they add more sugar, which is worse for you. Fats in itself are not bad, but I mean I don't want to get into too much of that. It's more of the perspective, and I understand what you're getting at with the TikTok videos.
I kind of like this topic because for any of the viewers out there, I do go to the gym regularly, and I do watch my intake a lot, and I feel like I have a good mix of white people food and Indian food. Like just for everyone out there, my basic diet is in the morning. I have three boiled eggs, two egg like, out of those two egg whites and one full egg with some chai, and a couple of protein shakes throughout the day. For lunch, it's just a salad with grilled chicken and some yogurt with granola. That's your white people food for you. And in the evening, I usually have again some more grilled chicken and whatever desi food we have at home. Maybe one roti, half a cup or one cup of rice. It's not about the what people have to understand is it's not about the Indian food that's damaging. It's more about can you portion control the Indian food that you're having? Because I do agree that Indian food can be unhealthy because of the amount of oil and the unnecessary uh, fats basically that go into it. But if you can control that, if you can control your portions of those foods, then those fats are good for you. The oil is good for you. It's not like oil has become branded as evil in your diet. And this is a whole other topic of what's good food and what's bad food. That I can spend a whole other video talking about that. But at the end of the day, it fully depends on what your goal is, right? If you're eating just to eat, then eat whatever you want. But if you're eating to lose weight, then fats and how much fat you eat, how much sugar you eat doesn't matter as long as it's the calories. If you're eating less calories than you burn, you're going to lose weight. It's just a very nuanced. I can talk about this for days, but what I've
I
learned to
mean,
realize is you have to control the portions of Indian food for you to enjoy Indian food as well as be healthy overall.
but that's what I'm trying to get at though is that you don't need to portion control like the Indian food is not such a way that it's portioned so like it's so bad for you that you need to portion it like less. So this is what's talked about in one of the articles that I looked into, and they talked about Chinese food, right? A lot of people assume they automatically have this idea, oh, Chinese food is unhealthy for you, or African American food, like, oh, it's unhealthy for you. And it's not necessarily the case that in it of itself is unhealthy. The reality is that there's not enough dietitians in that field to actually evaluate how healthy it is. You don't need to eat white people food to say that you're being healthy. That's my point. Is like you don't need that. The Indian food itself, there's nothing wrong with it. Every culture has their own diets that they preserve. The issue is more about understanding like how it fits in to your daily routine. I feel like, and it's not that it's in itself. Like for example, you eat dal, right? Dal is lentils. Lentils are not bad for you. It's literally ground up lentil. Most tarkari or salan, whatever you say in Pakistan or India, whichever you say in Pakistan or India, it's mostly water. It's actually mostly water than anything else. It's not like it's like just meat or just fats either.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. I don't know if it was my computer or yours, but you were buzzed out.
We started this episode in such a rush. Sorry for the viewers, by the way, but I wasn't able to change my Wi-Fi settings and all properly. So I think I'm connected to the weaker Wi-Fi anyway. So hopefully this video doesn't look too bad for everyone. If it looks bad, then we can just do a re-record of this on a day where we're more relaxed. I don't mind.
Yeah. I mean, we can do a part two just to get in the actual
Yeah,
a little more nuanced into it.
I do want to read the articles you sent me. I haven't gotten the time because work has been so hectic. Uh, can definitely do a part two.
I mean, here's the thing: is reality is what happens is now on TikTok and TikTok, Instagram, whatever. People will find these like branded like Indian foods, like to talk about the benefits of pomegranates or other things that we that in Indian the Indians and Pakistanis and other people in that region will eat and will benefit them, and they'll act like it's a new thing that they never heard about before. And it's like you now that you choose to accept that it's healthy for you doesn't mean it wasn't healthy before or it was beneficial to you. Like for example, drinking chai or adding like cinnamon and other and or what's a good one? Using ghee. Like now ghee is popular and it's in Whole Foods and stuff like that too. Um, there's another big one. There's another big one that I'm it's not coming to my head right now.
Yogurt.
There's a few things. Yeah, yogurt and but there's even another one too. I can't in terms of spice, but even like cardamom and other things like that. Those are common things that in Indian food is used. I mean, there's other 2 points just because we're running out of time, and definitely we can look into this topic again. Um, but one thing I will say is that another problem is with nutrition is that people assume that food only has to be healthy. The reality is like there's more components to food. Like people actually want to eat food that they like. They want to eat good food. If you just want to eat, um, less calories, you could just eat like a bunch of carrots per day. But that's not how humans look at food. Food is a part of our culture. It's a part of our society. It's a very big aspect of life.
Just eating carrots per day is also not good for you on a
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, it's not. Of
nutrients
course, one thing.
perspective. Yeah, you have to have everything, and that's what I mean
Yeah.
by what are your goals for your body, because so there's a whole other topic on how much of each macronutrient you need to eat per day to be healthy: proteins, carbs, and fats. And to maintain your bodily functions, you need at least 0.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So, like Hatem, for example, I weigh 150 pounds. I weigh about that much right now. So, I would need to eat 75 grams of protein to maintain my bodily function, my organs, my heart, everything. So, all these things go into a healthy diet. And the that's where people tend to diss Indian and Chinese food a lot, is because the macronutrient distribution is way off. There's just way too much carbs and fats and not enough protein to be a healthy enough meal. But if you can find a way
But that's
to
not true. But
increase protein like within the meal, it makes it more balanced, more healthier. Like dal is a good source of protein. So if you can include more dal instead of frying like bhindi or okra or ladyfinger, whatever you call it, you can instead do that, but also have dal on the side. There's healthy foods within the Indian ecosystem that can boost your diet by a lot by just making the macronutrient spread a little bit more distributed. That's all I uh, think
I
about
mean,
that. Yeah.
that's my point is that with Indian food, like for example, that big article study showed that a lot of Indians that live in America actually have more problems than they do like health wise than Indians actually back home. And I didn't get to read the full article unfortunately for the viewers, but it's probably a common issue of like obviously how much you're using. And I just don't know if think about it, people in India and other places, like you just gotta use a little common sense and know that people in these places, India and China and stuff like that, they're not all overweight there. They're not overweight. They have U.S. has more obesity than any other country, And not to mention, those countries have existed for like forever, and those foods have been around for a long time. So if we're gonna say that those foods are unhealthy or they're missing stuff, it's not necessarily true because those places have been fine in terms of living, and they're less obese than the U.S. People in the U.S. are obese, and other countries they're not.
Oh, that's a whole other topic, dude. But
Yeah, I
I
know.
think we,
I know it is, but obesity is a part of being healthy. So
yeah.
I would just say with that, we'll have to end it off here because I gotta go to class. But I'll say right now that this topic can definitely be visited, and I'll tell you right now that I know from my own personal research that in dietitians and that whole industry of nutrition is a mess. It's actually not very. There's a lot of arguments and a lot of issues, and they change around a lot. And there's other lobbyists and stuff like that that contribute to certain viewpoints in the health industry, which again we can get on to in another episode.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to a hot mess of whatever this is. Truly, in essence, this is what it is. Have a good day, guys. Peace.